What's up, everybody? It's your boy Michael back at it again with another deck profile. Haven't done one of these in a long time, so excuse me if I'm a bit rusty at it. Today we're going to be looking at Imoti, Celebrant of Bounty. This is a very fun commander deck that allows you to cascade and cheat in a bunch of big spells. So a little bit about the commander first. It has cascade, obviously, which lets you look at the top cards of your deck until you hit a spell that costs less than Imoti, and then you cast it for free. You do that when you cast Imoti. Then you put the rest of those cards back on the bottom of your library in any order, or a random order or something. And then it also gives your spells that cost 6 or greater cascade. So you can start cheating in a lot of really gross cards with Imoti. So of course a deck that is this heavily centered on casting 6 cost or greater cards needs a lot of mana ramp, and it needs a lot of top deck manipulation, kind of. I'm a little bit light on the top deck manipulation, but I also just kind of like to blindly go for it, you know? I like to let RNG take the wheel a little bit. For this deck profile, I'm going to go through these cards in cost order, mana cost order, because probably the easier way to do it. Emoti's a 5-drop, so there's not going to be very many 5-drops in the deck. But without further ado, let's get into it, I suppose. So for 0 cost cards, we are playing 2 Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus. Jeweled Lotus is a little bit new of an addition for this deck, but Mana Crypt itself has been in here forever. These cards will help you get Imoti out as quickly as possible and start casting big spells. For 1-drop cards, we're playing Soul Ring. Soul Ring is a classic staple. I shouldn't really have to explain it. We're playing some tutors. Sylvan Tutor, Personal Tutor, and Worldly Tutor. So these are all tutors that put cards from your deck on top of the deck, which is pretty important because that's how you kind of sequence your plays with Imoti. Worldly Tutor and Sylvan Tutor both grab creatures, whereas Personal Tutor only grabs sorceries. But there are some very powerful sorceries to grab in blue-green specifically. Our last 1-drop is Sensei's Divining Top, another card that's really good at helping you manipulate the top card of your deck. Sensei's Top is just an auto-include. On to 2-drops. These are in no particular order, so if it's a little bit weird as to what they do, I'm sorry. We have Arcane Signet, Mind Stone, Sakura Tribe Elder, and then we have our green ramp spells, Ramp and Growth, 3 Visits, and Nature's Lore. So these are all heavy ramp spells. You need a lot of ramping in this deck because, you know, you got to get to your Imoti as quickly as possible, and you got to get to your big spells as quickly as possible. Other 2-drop cards include Scroll Rack for top deck manipulation, Sylvan Library for, well, the same thing, top deck manipulation, and then we have some haste enablers with Crashing Drawbridge and Swiftfoot Boots, and then finally some recursion with Regrowth. On to 3-drops. There's not very many of them. Some more ramp spells, Kodama's Reach, Cultivate, and Harrow. Harrow says when you cast it, you sacrifice a land, and you search your deck for 2 basic lands and put them into play. it is an instant as well. So these are the cornerstones of the deck. Getting you your ramp as quickly as possible and kind of digging lands out of your deck so that you can draw into more bombs. Our last 3-drop is Fierce Empath. This one lets you grab a creature that costs 6 or greater, and that's pretty good. On to our 4-drop cards. We have some more ramp with Migration Path, Sky Shroud Claim, Circuitous Route, Ranger's Path, Explosive Vegetation, Thran Dynamo, and Solemn Simulacrum. So these are all, again, excellent ramp spells. Grab you lands out of the deck and, you know, keep you from dead drawing these lands. And then also getting lots and lots of mana pretty early in order to get into your big spells. Other 4-drops are Birthing Pod. Because of the nature of how Cascade kind of functions, there's going to be a lot of creatures that cost 1 more or 1 less than each other. So Birthing Pod is an excellent card in this deck. And then Jace the Mind Sculptor for some top deck manipulation. Brainstorming every turn is actually really good in this deck. On to 5-drops. There's only 3 because Imoti is usually what you want to be playing when you have 5 mana. But I've chosen some decent ones. So we have Acidic Slime. It's nice land destruction, artifact, enchantment destruction. And it's a nice little guy that can block some big things and get rid of stuff. Thrix the Sudden Storm. This card essentially is some more mana ramp as well as some protection against your big cards getting countered. And then Garruk Primal Hunter. This one's mainly in here because it lets you draw a bunch of cards. I pretty much only -3 it. Very rarely do I ever +1 it, and I don't think I've ever ulted this card in this deck. But it really draws you a lot of cards when you need it. When you have an Apex Devastator out or something, you're just drawing all the cards. On to 6-drops. We'll go ahead and start out with some more mana ramp. In Regal Behemoth, Mana Reflection. So these 2 cards are mana doublers. They cascade, which is nice. Every card that I'm going to mention from now on cascades while Imoti is out. So you have to imagine that you're also getting a free card in addition to casting these. But these cards are excellent for being able to double all of that mana that you're going to be getting. And now we're going to start seeing what we pay the mana into. So for cheating some stuff into play, we have Spell Twine. This can grab you instants and sorceries back, and there are some really powerful ones in this deck, so you don't really have to worry if your opponent has bad ones or not. Planar Bridge, and Vivian on the Hunt. Vivian on the Hunt being just another copy of Birthing Pod, and then Planar Bridge allowing you to grab some very disgusting cards later on. Other 6-drops are Aether Snipe, because when you evoke it, it actually triggers the Cascade, since it is still a 6-cost card. So being able to bounce an online permanent is pretty good too. And then Rishkar's Expertise, because drawing lots of cards and then cheating something else into play is really nice. Alright, on to 7-drop cards. We're going to round out the mana ramp here with Nyx Bloom Ancient and Old Gnawbone. These cards will help you gain insane amounts of mana so that you can do insane amounts of things during your turn. Other 7-drops are Hullbreaker Horror and Hornet Queen. Both of these cards are pretty excellent at reducing your opponent's board size in some manner. Lots of Death Touch flyers, blocks a lot of weird random flying decks that occur in Commander. And then Hullbreaker Horror bounces an insane number of cards when you start cascade chaining. It also leads to some infinite combos, which is kind of nice. Alright, on to the good stuff, the 8-drops. So 8-drop cards is where things get real. Because here we're going to show off our first extra turn spell that we're playing. Beacon of Tomorrow's very nice, gets you extra turn and then puts itself back into the deck for later use. Also playing some cards that can cheat stuff into play. So we have one with the Multiverse. This card lets you cast a spell from your hand or the top of your library for free once per turn, which is really good. And then we have 2 Delve cards, Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise. These ones are generally almost always costing 2 mana and being able to cascade into 7 drops, which is really nice. The final cards that we have in here are Terastodon, Archetype of Endurance, Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and then my personal favorite, Aminatu's Augury. All these cards have different functions. Archetype of Endurance allows you to protect your board. Ugin is kind of a board wipe as well as a win condition. And then Terastodon can, get rid of some troublesome stuff. And then Aminatu's Augury will win you the game usually. Every card that you get with Aminatu's Augury can also get Cascade because you are casting the card. So it stacks up really disgustingly. For the 9-drops, we are playing Apex Altasaur and Expropriate. Pretty much the best 9-drops that you can really play. Apex Altasaur can ruin entire boards, and then Expropriate can just win games on its own. To 10-drops, we are playing some very big, nasty things. Obviously, we have to have some Eldrazi Titans in here. So Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, Kozilek Butcher of Truth, and then of course Apex Devastator, because what would a Cascade deck be without this card? Absolutely insane. Usually you win the game if you cast Apex Devastator. And then the final 10 cost cards are Time Stretch and Omniscience. So these cards again will also win you the game. Planar Bridge can go grab Omniscience, which is really gross, and then Time Stretch can be recast with Spell Twine and other things. 11 cost cards, Temporal Trespass and Ulamog the Infinite Gyre. They're just solid. I mean, they cascade into 10 cost cards, which are generally really good, so there you go. And then finally, a 12 cost card, we have Galta Primal Hunger. This one is just pretty good because you can cheat it in pretty easily. So for lands, we are playing Command Beacon, Rogue's Passage, Reliquary Tower, Field of Ruin, Ghost Quarter, Ancient Tomb, Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, Boseiju Who Endures, Prismatic Vista, Command Tower, and then the rest are islands and forests. And that is 1, if I can center it, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 islands. 14 islands. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 forests. And, you could switch it around. Maybe I'll make it into a 13 and 13, but at the same time you have, Yavamaya, Cradle of Growth, and you have Boseiju, who endures, which are both pretty much forests anyway, so kind of matches. And there you have it. That is Imoti, Celebrant of Bounty. Oh, there's a Monarch thing because Regal Behemoth does it. But yeah, that's the deck. If you guys want to see more deck profiles like this, let me know. I'm still kind of getting back into the groove of things, so hopefully the next one will turn out a bit better. But yeah, that's all for now.